And we are live.
All right.
Hello, Miss Athena Finger.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm
How are
good.
things in Florida? I think.
Yes, I'm in Florida. Things are
Yes,
good. It's a beautiful day out. It's like 80
great.
degrees outside. It's supposed to like really warm all week, so I'm happy.
That's cool. Oh, that's great. First of all, I really thank you for accepting my invitation. And well, my audience is really broad. There are metal guys, geeks, science fiction fans. So if you can give us the pleasure, if you can introduce yourself, just a
Sure.
just a quick introduction, so people don't know, but probably everyone know you.
Not everyone, but I'll introduce
A lot of
myself.
people, all the cool guys know you.
Yes, I'm part of the cool kid club now.
Yes.
That's a nice little perk, I guess. But my name's Athena. My grandfather was Bill Finger. He was the co-creator of Batman and various other comic book characters. And I fought his case and was able to get him the byline back in 2015. So,
Wow, that's
yeah,
uh, that's amazing. Yeah, you make this so simple, but the story is so crazy. It's kind
oh,
of is a really crazy story, and I don't know. I will love to get into that, but first of all, I would love to kind of know a little bit more about you,
sure.
because I don't know you. When you were a little kid, you were passionate by. Why I saw that you have on your bag a lot of Star Wars stuff. So maybe I don't know. You were always passionate by, I don't know, comic books or science fiction or
I was actually really into the horror genre, like the
really
horror movies and stuff. That's what my father got me into. Um, which is, I
like
mean, it
Friday
kind of
the
goes with
13th.
the whole comic theme and make
Mm,
believe and stuff like that. So,
all right.
but that's what I really gravitated towards. I didn't really gravitate towards comics.
Mm,
Um, and I was, always drawing and painting as a child. So I was always creating my own stuff. So I wasn't really
sure.
paying attention to comics. I mean, I knew about it. I knew what my grandfather
Mm,
had done for the industry and his involvement with Batman. So, um, which is always cool, but it just, for whatever reason, it's not what I gravitated
but
towards.
it's not such a mystery because when you were a kid, most of the comic books were targeted for men. It's
Which is
just
true. Yes, it
yes,
was for
was
adolescent boys
yeah,
who,
adolescent boys. So yeah, and
especially in the 80s and the 90s, it was
yeah,
very male oriented
yes,
content.
we can see that that changed in the last decade.
Hmm.
Maybe you will agree or not, but my view is like there are more diversity. Like starting by women,
Yes.
women that are not like the character on the back or a sex symbol or I don't know.
Well, I think that women have always read or had been involved
Mm,
since the beginning. It's just it wasn't talked about because it was such a male dominant,
for
you
sure.
know, culture.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why we see this, you know, bloom of women and girls who like comics, I think they just always were there. It's just more accepted now. It's more mainstream.
Yeah,
It's
for
not
sure.
it's not looked down upon. You're not, it times are different. We look at this pop culture in a very different way than we did
Mm,
when, back in the 80s and the
yeah.
70s and
Oh,
stuff.
I
So
think that's great. Because it's logical that, for example, there are girls that feel more identified, for example, with Miss Marvel or character like that, because we're kind of wrote by women with the view of a woman.
right.
It's not like there's a huge secret, but it's not the same vision of things. And there's some great writers and artists that are women. I
Mhm.
had on my previous podcast an editor, where she's a writer and an editor from Marvel, called Anno Setti.
Okay.
And no, she was one of the few women on at Marvel that have a kind of a position of influence. She was the
Okay.
editor for X-Men. She wrote Daredevil, and she said that there was no. It's not like she never felt discriminated,
Hmm.
but of course, during that time, the view was really like we were talking, focus on guys. Yeah, that
Right.
that was it. So yeah, for sure, there's a I think there's a reason maybe around that time you were not very interested. So you were interested in horror movies?
Horror movies, like
Like
Nightmare
which one,
on Elm
for example?
Street and Poltergeist and all those
Oh, I
types of
love
movies.
Poltergeist.
Oh, classic.
It
So,
scared me the shit the first time I saw it. I was looking under the bed all the time.
oh no,
Yes, I was like expecting a clown will appear. No, but that's
but
great.
yeah, no, that's what I enjoyed. That's not what I drew though. I tried to do some, realistic drawing. I did some
Mm,
cartooning as a kid, so
sure.
um, just creative, just not with
Yeah.
words. Bill was a writer, and I'm not a writer. I guess I got the more visual part from my dad because my dad was also a painter, and then
Mm,
he moved from painting to the medium of food and having food actually be artistic, not just something that you put on a plate and eat.
mm. Yeah, for sure. So, and your father, he was involved in comic books. She she was a fan of kind of the work
Yeah,
of
he
your
was he
grandfather,
was into a little bit of everything. Um, but
like
we
art in
didn't
general.
art in general. I mean, again, he was an artist. He was a creator also. So
Mm,
he loved going to museums, and he would take me to the New York Natural Science Museum all the time. That was his favorite. He loved dinosaurs, so they had some of the amazing exhibits there. He was really into exploring what the world had to offer, other
mm.
than just you know focused on one medium or one idea. So,
Yes. No, I love that kind of artist. Like you can see there are many artists like that that try kind of a little bit of everything. Like I don't
mhm.
know, like David Bowie, for example. He was an actor, singer, writer. He
He was a creator. That's
yes,
what he did. He was a creator,
yes.
and you know, you're always trying to find that new way to create something. So,
Mm. And he was kind of a fan of the work of your grandfather. He was aware of the yeah.
oh yeah, he would tell me that when he was of age, like around 12,
Mm,
between right in that demographic that they were writing the Batman series for. He would help his dad. He would be kind of his test audience for storylines and things like that. So yeah, I mean, he was a huge fan of what his father was doing and what he was producing, and
yeah, no, basically maybe that's the artist influence in some
right.
way.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, I think your life had really changed after the documentary.
After the documentary,
Yeah, like one
um,
before and after, or
mm, my life really changed. Excuse me. After I started going to conventions. That's kind of like
mm,
when my life started to change. Because when the documentary had come out, that was, a couple years after everything had settled down, and I got used to my new role in the whole comic world, which was new
Mm.
to me. I mean, I wasn't involved with comics.
To the people
Um,
that don't know, this is the documentary I'm talking about.
yes, Batman and Bill. It's a great documentary.
Yes.
They did a really good job with it. It's mainly focused on Mark, but he did a lot of work to find Bill's story and the people who were connected to Bill. And I learned a lot about my family
There
through
you
Mark because he did all of this research, and I mean, I had no idea who most of these people were. And I kind of shied away from it also. Growing up, I was always discouraged, or not so much discouraged, but just kind of told that it was never going to get resolved and I shouldn't waste my time or invest
Who who
time and
who
money.
who told you that?
People in my family, people outside the family, um, it just it was
Pe-
also I at a time where I was young. I mean, my dad passed
Sure.
away just before my 16th birthday, so I didn't
Mm.
really even know what to do to approach the subject.
Yes, for sure.
So it it was, it
It was
was
kind of
tricky.
overwhelming.
It
Yes.
was. It was a tricky situation we put in because that it's something that needs to be resolved. And
Mm.
that, my father did try to resolve the issue and he was pushed to the side and got to a point on where he just couldn't do it anymore. He
Mm.
put in the fight that he could, and he was very sick. So, it's very stressful and exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Taking
like
on
like a battle of David and Goliath,
Yes,
kind of.
exactly.
Oh, for sure.
So it's and I understand. And at the time when it fell upon me, I was, still considered a minor and I didn't necessarily know what to do about the situation and how to approach it.
Mm.
So, I mean, and I think time also was in my favor at this point when I did decide to
Yes.
pursue getting the credit for Bill. Um, you know, there's only so much time that you have to make a claim. So, and I knew that the clock was winding down, and so I was fortunate enough to have the right people around me. And
Yes.
with Mark's research already being done, that was a huge help because he was able to show timelines. And
Mm.
with Bob Kane's biography and him even admitting in his book that Bill, 50 to 75%, creative force behind the bat or whatever words he used, but he he did state that, Bill had a lot to do with it.
Yes.
So having all of this and then having the culture what it is, also so much time has passed. A lot of the internal people have rotated out, and it's now the younger generations have come in and do want to see the correct byline given to the correct people, and
Mm.
have you know their correct history of this culture that they're a part of to be correct, and not this
Mm.
falsehood that's been fed to the fan base for 70 plus years.
Yes.
I mean, it's the that's the sad part. I mean, yes, it's sad Bill didn't get his credit and he didn't get all of the notoriety and the money that Bob Kane did. But when it comes down to it, the only reason why we still even talk about Batman or Superman or any of these major characters is because the fan base has been keeping it alive for,
Mm.
you know, over
For
80
sure.
years now. I mean, and for them to think that this one man, Bob Kane, did everything and was the only person that was behind this,
Yeah.
that's I'm sorry, like who wants to believe a lie? I
Mm,
think that they deserve the truth of how their beloved character came into an existence.
of
Um,
course.
and the fans that really are diehard fans
Mm,
egged me on, basically. When I
yeah.
came into the scene, they're like, you have to do this. Like, this is, and Mark was the first one to way back in 2007. He's like, you have to do this. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, you don't have any idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like it's way more simple when it's not you. You know, it's like,
Exactly.
come on,
Exactly.
jump from that bridge. It will be okay. I swear.
Well, and also, I mean, it's not just DC at that point. It's DC Warner Brothers. It's this
Yeah, it's a giant.
huge international corporation that like,
Yes,
and I'm just as, I'm a nobody. Literally,
yes,
I teach math. I am a math teacher. We're at and and people get mad at me like you're not just a math teacher, but that's what I do. That's my
true.
comfort zone. That's what I'm good at. My students are receptive to me. Like everything that I could possibly want to have pleasure out of a job I get from
Mm,
teaching. So that's why I'm like, listen, I'm a math teacher. I'm a nobody. But I know that I do represent something that's really important to people, and that is
mm,
the connection to Batman and
mm,
how my grandfather created this character that has influenced generations, not just one generation, but multiple generations, have helped people in so many different ways, positive and
mm,
negative. I mean, just the broad scope of what this character has done to our culture and belief systems is just on such a scale that it's very overwhelming. And to come into that and not really have the knowledge of the culture or anything like that was a little intimidating, but at the same time, it was really like they were so welcoming, the fan base, and
mm,
that brought me back to the core of what I was saying before. We really wouldn't have these characters and still talking about them without the fan base. So
mm.
I took on this other role other than just being a math teacher. Now I'm this representative of
Yes.
this truth that has been hidden and kept from people for a
Mm.
long time. So it it's such a weird transition that happened to come back to your original question. Has my life changed?
Wow, I think it's pretty clear. No, but I think be a math teacher is like we were talking off air. It's a really you have to be passionate about it, and it's a really important job because you are kind of helping kids or young people to become better,
Yes.
to learn something. So that's you don't have to sell your child yourself short. It's a
Well, that's my
really
superpower.
important
That's
job.
what I
Yeah,
refer to
for
it as, my
of course
superpower.
you're molding the minds of the future generation.
Yes. I'm making smarter critical thinkers.
Yes. So then there will be less people that will believe that air is flat, for example. Please.
I've watched some of those documentaries. Oh my goodness. I don't know what they're drinking, but
They had terrible t-shirts, you know.
I love the
you know
ones where they're like, we're going to prove that the world is flat. And then they're like, at the end, they proved that the world is curved. And they're like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm an
that's
idiot.
it. Was the perfect ending. Was the perfect ending. It's a great documentary. Yeah. No, because we start to talk about it, and maybe I'm kind of for me it's kind of obvious that everyone already saw this documentary, but well, for everyone that have didn't see this documentary, it's called Batman and Bill, and it's amazing because the whole life, if you are a fan of Batman like me, uh you believe all your life that Bob Kane was the creator of Batman, you know and through this documentary, we discover that it's not that there's this other guy that was a very big influence on the character development, and he was kind of erased from history, and that's huge. and and on that documentary, like we saw it right here, that's you.
Yes, that's me.
uh that's you. uh yeah, there, it's amazing the story of ho- all the this story from the shit, I forgot the name of the of the, what's his name?
Who, Mark?
uh Mark.
Yes, the
Yes,
author of the book, Bill the
yes,
Boy Wonder. And that's what kind of started the whole thing, was that he was doing this research for his book. He had previously written a book
this is the
about,
guy.
yes, he had written a book about the Superman story about Siegel and Schuster, and he wanted to write about Bill Finger. He knew who he was and saw the injustice of Bill not
Mm.
having credit, and on how he took
But
on this crusade to
mm,
get Bill's name
yes,
added.
but he
And
was kind of an accident, because for me, if I understand correctly, he made a book about Siegel and Schuster because
mhm,
they were the creators of Superman.
right.
But their story was really hard because they sell Superman like for $100, something like
Yes,
that.
it
Crazy.
was very tragic.
Yes,
And
but
the
but
family
then
fought for decades and
yes,
decades. Yes.
yeah, but then he want to write a book about Batman, the creator of Batman, but Kane, and he discovered that, hey, he was not actually the sole creator of that, and he discovered the story of Bill Finger, and he kind of get obsessed with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How was that first meet when he approached you and say, "Are you are you are you the granddaughter? Hold on." He was kind
Well,
of
it was
freaking out.
uh well, we had spoken a few times on the phone before we had met face to
Yes.
face. Um, the thing that kind of threw me away was that that there was somebody who was interested in Bill's story and wanted to tell Bill's story and was serious about it. Wasn't just like,
Mm.
oh, I'm a fan and I'm writing you on, MySpace because I heard somewhere along the line that you could maybe be. No, this was, I'm doing research. We talked. He knew names. He knew some stuff. He didn't. And, when
Is
he
it true
told
that?
me that the world thought that I didn't exist, I thought he was crazy. Um, DC always knew about me. It's not that
Mm.
they didn't know about me, they knew about me. I
All right.
had letters from them, I've gotten books from them. It's,
Really?
yeah. I mean, right after my father passed away, they sent me stuff. So they knew of
All right.
me. They didn't, I wasn't some hidden secret from DC. They knew I
Okay.
existed. It's just that the fan base didn't know I existed because there was no reason to know that I even existed. And it was probably
Yeah.
better that they thought that nobody did exist.
That's, it's
you
not that
know?
they hidden. It's just that they don't make it public. They
Right.
don't make an effort. Yeah, because of
And I
course it's
didn't make it public. Like I didn't go out and start going and participating in Comic Cons and things like. I was not part of that world in any way. Like
yes.
not at all. And when I moved to Florida from Massachusetts, again, it was even further from what I was thinking about. Like I didn't talk about Batman. I didn't talk about my grandfather. Like it wasn't something that I openly discussed with people. Um, and then I was focused on starting my family and my career. Like that was my goal. That was my,
Sure.
and again, coming off of like, you're never gonna win.
Hmm.
Don't do this. You're never gonna win. It's gonna cost you a
Yeah,
fortune that you
because
don't
you saw
have.
you saw a little your father go through that road and see that
Yeah.
was kind of hard.
So, I mean, that's, it wasn't really until Mark approached me that was like, all right, well, now you need to kind of, face the music and deal with this issue that you've put on for 15 years. Because I haven't thought about it, talked about it, did anything about it for
Mm,
15 years after my father had passed away. So, um, it that was the hard part, was facing it.
mm, yeah.
There was
And
a
he
lot
was kind
of,
of overexcited about it,
I wouldn't say that he was overly excited about it. I think he was more,
encouraging you.
he was eager to participate in the process of getting Bill's credit,
Mm,
and he wanted to see that I pursued that, which I
mm,
completely understand.
sure,
Um, but there's a whole other side. I'm a human being. I had never
of
really
course.
dealt with the loss of my father, um, and had to kind of deal with the family issues that came with that loss. And, it's still something that's very sensitive for me, but it's a little better.
Cool.
I still can't watch the documentary without crying, because it
It's a
has footage of,
very, yeah, emotional documentary for me because there's a story of Batman, but also is a story of your family.
right. And then seeing the footage of my dad. I mean, I haven't seen my father since 1991. So to
Mm,
see him on film is awesome, and I'm so glad that we have that. But it reminds me of how much I miss him, and he
sure.
should be here too, celebrating and
Mm,
seeing all of this love that's been poured into his father, and the character that his dad created, and that's all he ever
mm,
really wanted. I mean, I remember back in '89,
mm,
when the Batman movie came out and Bob Kane went on 60 Minutes, because
yes.
that's what you did, right? And I remember watching that interview with my dad, and he was so pained by the fact that Bob Kane could not even acknowledge his
Yes.
father in any way, not in the
Mm,
slightest. And
yes.
that's heartbreaking,
Mm,
knowing that your dad created this amazing pop icon, and
mm,
even more so now. But I mean, it exploded when that movie came out. Like,
yes. For
that
sure.
was I think, their first opportunity they could have, for a PR stance, make things right for
Mm,
Bill, but they decided not to because, of course, there with certain things on the back end, legalities and you know money and people
yes.
wanting credit
And
and
it's
what
when
comes
you
with
you
that.
tell a lie for so many years, how you get back from that? you know, for me, he was like maybe in a way, maybe a little part of him wanted to have this kind of do this, but it's kind of I don't know. He was trapped in his own lie for me.
Yes, and I think that's kind of what it came down to later
Mm,
on in his life. Um, Even with the biography, Tom Andrea was helping him write his autobiography.
yes.
And so when Tom was helping him with the story, he's like, so are you gonna talk about Bill? You can tell, something close to the truth here, because that would be really cool.
Yes.
And so Tom got him to talk on tape with some interviews about Bill's involvement with the early years of Batman and the creation and things like that. So if Tom had not pushed all of that, then we would still have this falsehood, even
Mm.
in the autobiography, which, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's crazy. But I don't know. For me, it's amazing, an amazing story because finally, after all the struggle, there's a kind of a happy ending. That's really rare.
Yeah, it is. But a lot of things led up to this. A lot of things. The Superman cases
Mm,
were coming to an end finally. The Kirby case was resolved, and then I was able to really make that final push for Bill.
yes, yes,
So there was this trend of getting the proper credit to these
justice.
people. Yeah, well, I mean, and it's so sad, but it's not just in this one particular industry. It's everywhere. People are cutthroat. If you have something that could potentially be a big winner, someone's going to try to take it and own its
Mm,
own. So it's not nice. It's not pretty, but it is reality. And anybody who is a creator, inventor, has a cool idea, a cool concept, you protect it. That's all I got to
mm.
say. You don't want to be in the position of these other
Yes.
creators or scientists or inventors that have
Mm,
had their ideas stolen from them
for sure.
because they were easy targets,
Yeah,
basically.
no. Yeah. No, for sure. But I think one thing that really changed on the last couple of decades is clearly is internet, because
Mm,
Bob Kane was
for
able to get
sure. The
away with
sharing of information made a huge
internet
difference.
existed in the 40s, the 50s. Bob Kane has has been in trouble already. Like, yeah, but
Yes.
you say this, and we have this video, like share. Oh, hashtag hashtag Bob Kane. Yeah, no, for sure. You
No,
imagine?
it's true. It's true. And the way that they had to share information was somebody had to physically type up a
Yes,
newsletter or a fan letter,
yes, and send
go
it to
and
everyone.
have it copied in some manner or
Yes,
type it up multiple times themselves
yeah, for sure. No,
and
was
mail it
crazy.
out. Yes.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I think that was the different, and yeah,
Well,
for
yes. And
sure.
like what I was trying to say before with the timing, I mean, when I came into the scene, it was the 75th anniversary. And that was like the first that I had gone to real Comic Cons. Like I had gone to something that was more like a flea market type of situation that they called a convention,
Yes,
in a hotel ballroom, and they have it's like set up with tables and people bring their stuff in and they set it up and it's not like a Comic Con that you would see now. It's
sure,
like, here, this was in my basement. Will you buy it?
for
Which we
sure.
still have those types of conventions nowadays too, but not the ones that I was introduced to back in 2014.
Mm,
Which again was really when things started to happen. Like
mm,
people wanted to have that connection with Bill, and I realized that that was my new role coming into the scene, that they
yeah,
wanted to show gratitude to somebody that was connected. And I'm like,
and the fans that
yeah,
they were like, "Don't worry, we have your back," something like that.
for the most, I mean, yeah, they wanted to see this get resolved and that Bill's place in history was in its proper place. And you know I just don't think people understood the magnitude of what that entails.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like it, people have this idea from what they see in the media, whether it's
Yeah,
movies or TV or even
comic books.
media like the news and whatever.
Ah, sure.
You know what I mean? They have this idea that it's so easy. You just go and you do it and it gets resolved. And it's
Yeah,
like,
no, no.
no, that's not reality in any way. It doesn't work that
You're
way.
getting me in trouble.
Like, I
Yeah,
just
for
got
sure.
really fortunate that things lined up properly. Like I had a
Yes.
lot of things that fell into place at the right time.
Mm.
And I kind of also played my cards in a way where I didn't let anyone really know outside of my circle that I was even aware that families pursued credit for their relatives in the industry. Of course, I knew that. But I played it off as this naive woman who's
Yeah.
got, a small child and is teaching mathematics at a small little
Ah,
college in the middle of nowhere. You know what I
nice
mean? Like,
strategy. That was your secret identity.
it was. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was getting all of these people in line who had all the right avenues. And
Wow.
once my
That's really Batman shit
I mean,
right there.
it took me a little while, but once I finally realized that the first person that I was pursuing this with wasn't really doing what needed to be done, is when my sister approached me. Now, my sister went to law school.
Hmm.
When she was in law school, she actually was focusing on copyright law. So she made contacts in college when
What
she
a
was in
lucky
law
coincidence.
school. And so it just like all the things fell into place. Like, had we done that 10 years
Hmm.
before, we wouldn't have had those resources because she wouldn't have been in that
And she
position.
was aware of the she was aware of the situation before, or was
Oh
when
yeah, I
you
mean, she's older than me, so my dad was her stepdad. She
just
knew of the story. She knew what was going on. She knew. I mean, she grew up with it also. So
sure,
um, it's just that she and I had different fathers, so she's not
sure,
bloodline, but we're still sisters, and we
yes,
still felt that it was important for us to take on this battle.
yes,
And it just that we're fortunate enough that she is a lawyer and knew other lawyers that could help us with
mm.
this immense task of taking on DC Warner Brothers.
Crazy
And
because they have like armies of lawyers. You don't have like
yes,
one one little lawyer. Is they have
well, not
armies of
only that, like I was a part-time professor. Like I made maybe 24,000 a year. Like I can't afford
yes,
anything.
for sure.
Like I had to really be
Lawyers are so
careful.
expensive.
Yes, I
Like it's okay if I can pay you later. No,
know.
for sure. That was a perfect alignment
Right.
of the
So
stars.
it really was. So with me embracing the public, and playing the PR side of it and getting the fans involved and getting people in the
That was
industry
really smart.
involved and things like that, helped on the public side. Well, behind the scenes, we had our strategy and we're able to get the right people involved
Sure.
and be able to resolve the issue. And that was everybody's goal, but you have to play this game, this little song and dance.
Yes.
It's like I'm not so much for the game. Let's just get down to it. That's mathematic to me. It's logical. It's step one, step two, step three. Let's go. We're done. Like there's no back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. I
But
especially with legal cases or lawyers, it's like they play with words. It's
yes.
like it's
And
not the
again,
same. Like,
not my thing.
but yeah, but like you change one word, it's like means something completely different.
No, it's true. It's really true. And that's the other thing is like people who are creators don't always think about that other side of it, that
Mm,
business side, that legal side, that protects what is your side. So, and it's words. And a lot of creators, unless you're a writer,
mm,
I'd rather
yeah,
be throwing paint or, working with our hands doing something else. That's not reading legal documents and understanding all of what is
Yeah, for sure. No, it happened to me already as an artist to
oh
to see no, 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 to sign contracts,
no. Hmm.
and you start to read the stuff because it's made by lawyers, for sure,
Right.
and say, what do you mean that you have the rights, like universal rights, or I don't know how it's like
Yes.
globally interstellar rights.
This
No,
means that
like,
they own it
yeah, yeah,
in
no, I
every
will not.
realm
How long? How long is this? Ah, okay, forever.
forever.
No, 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 no. I'm
No,
not
we're gonna
signing
put a
that.
cap on that.
We we we're gonna change that a little bit. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yes. Yes.
No, because there are so the problem is that especially these days, artists are so excited and passionate to, yeah, I want to sign with a label, I want to sign this, and they don't even bother in reading what they are signing, and
No.
then they say, oh,
Yeah,
it
they
happened
sold
a
their
lot in,
soul.
yeah, it happened a lot in the music industry with very big bands that they sign a contract and say, okay, there you go, $2 million, go and make an album. I say, oh, we have 2 million, oh, it's crazy. uh, but they forget to read that this is just a loan. You have to give
Right.
it back for the sales, and if the sales it doesn't work very well, well, it's
You got to
you
pay
have
it
to
back.
pay, you have to pay it back.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of famous band that had this kind of issue. But yeah, it was really different to the story of your grandfather. Your
Well, yeah,
grandfather,
because the industry is so different then also. And I mean,
yes,
Bill is unique because of the character that he's involved with, but he's not unique in the fact that his credit was stolen
yes,
from him,
mm,
which is horrible. Again, like,
yeah,
you know, there's always got to be that one person that's got to ruin it for everybody else, right?
yes, yeah, no, for sure,
And unfortunately, just at that time, with Siegel and Schuster both having their names on Superman, that was very unusual. That was not of the norm. Industry norm was only the artist name was given on the byline, but give some credit, give something.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But I don't
But
know.
it's
At the
all different
beginning,
now.
yeah, for sure. No, now is you. There's nowhere to hide. You know,
Well, if
if
you sneeze on it, you get credit now because they don't want to get sued.
yes, yeah, no, for sure. And you can see it. For example, the pressure of the fan base can be very powerful. You know,
Yes, of course.
and
Well, they're
yeah,
the
you
ones that
make,
are paying your bills, so you got to make them happy. And I don't think the fan base is very happy right now with the way things are going. But that's just my take.
yeah, for sure. But no, that's great because at the end there's a happy ending. We were not gonna enter into the details for sure, but yeah, no, it's a very inspirational story,
Yes.
because usually when in this kind of situation, the powerful always win, but in this case was kind of a happy ending. But I would love to have your, I don't know, how was the that kind of feedback from the fan base, because you already have been in Comic Con. There's a pretty, most of them are cool guys,
Hmm.
but it never you encounter like a guy was kind of overexcited, like, yeah, we need to do this, like,
No, the fans
I'm
have been
Batman. I
so
will
they've
go
been
to
so
Warner Bros. and kick their
respectful.
ass.
No, I mean, of course there was encouragement, but I think people realize that I'm just a person.
Sure.
And that, I'm not gonna go be the warrior Athena and live up to my name and go, kick down
I
the
think
door.
it's an awesome name, really.
But but I think people who were aware of the story understood the magnitude of what needed to be accomplished. So I think they were very respectful. I think it's more the people who didn't know about the story. And
Hmm.
then when I explain who I am and why I'm
Yes.
there and what the story is, and I would get the confused like,
What? What?
yeah, and I'm like, just Google it. Just take out your Google it, and they'll do that, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, well, but it is what it is. My favorite story of that is I was in Rhode Island at a convention
Yes.
in Rhode Island, and I was kind of bored.
Yes.
And so anybody that walked by that had anything Batman related on their clothing or whatever, I'd be like, hey, you know who Bill Finger is? And start talking. So this kid, he must have been like, I don't know, maybe 17. He was a kid. Had a sweatshirt on that said Gotham on it. I'm like, hey, do you know who came up with that? Yeah, Bob Kane. I'm like, no. Let me
No.
tell you a story, right? He did not believe me. Okay.
Sure.
I said, okay, fine. Just watch the documentary. It's on Hulu. I'm not kidding. Like, this is who I am. Like, I know I'm not in the right area, but this is where I could get in. Because I was sitting in Artist Alley and not with like the pros or the celebrities.
Yes.
So he's like, yeah. And he walked away. And I'm like, whatever, whatever. He'll learn someday. That kid got in touch with me a month later on Facebook and was like, listen, I just want to apologize for not believing you and thinking that you were full of shit. I'm like,
Wow.
wow. He's like,
Thank you.
I'm like,
Thank you
okay.
very much.
I'm like, he went on, he wrote me a long message. He's like, I just wanted to let you know that Rhode Island Comic Con had you in the wrong area, and for you to be placed where you were was completely insulting to you and your family. And they should have put you in the celebrity area where you belong. I'm like, holy cow, this kid literally thought I was full of crap.
From full of crap to celebrity.
And I was just like, whatever, you're young, you'll learn.
Yeah,
And
no.
he was like, and it's those people that I love to have the interactions with because they've been fed the lie or they just assume that it's true
Yeah.
because that's all that was out there. And then when you give them the education and then that light bulb goes off, again, being an educator, we want that light bulb.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, yes, I got one more fan to understand the reality of what is behind this character. It's not just the character being dark and
Yes.
stormy. The actual story behind the bat is dark and stormy, but has a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like
Yes.
there's this whole drama behind the character who's already dramatic enough.
Yes. No, but I think was great what you were talking before that you cannot play it like yeah, I'm a school teacher, uh, with my kid to kind of what's kind of like a little bit like Batman, like
It
I was
is.
gonna pretend that I'm just a full millionaire, but behind the scenes, I did the work.
Yeah. Well, and I used to refer to it as my other life,
Sure.
uh, or my other job, or my other persona, depending on who I was describing it to in the context of what
Mm,
I was talking about. Because for a long time, my real self, which I still consider to be my real self, is when I'm with my students, when I'm teaching.
sure.
That's my comfort zone. That's my happy place.
A great job.
But my other world is this very public life in this very
Mm.
public world that I didn't necessarily want to be associated with because
Sure.
I like my privacy and I like to. I mean, it's cool to be noticed, but like that's not what I'm about. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to be noticed and I don't need, that's there's a time and a place for that. So if I'm
Mm.
at a convention, yes, that's the time and the place to come up and say, "Hey, how's it going?" But
Yes.
I it's just not who I was. I mean,
Yeah.
it is who I am now because I have this new role, my other life that I am I am the ambassador or the representative of the golden age of Batman, basically, because we don't have anybody from Bob Kane's family. We don't have anybody really doing anything anymore from Jerry Robinson's family. I'm kind of the only one that's in that little threesome there that's still active in the scene.
Mm.
And so I've kind of taken that to, okay, well, it's very public, but it's kind of like being in the classroom, which is public, although it's a different context of being public.
Yes.
So I've kind of taken that and said, okay, it's just another place to educate. Because I used to get really nervous. I used to be like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I don't know
Mm.
all the storylines for Batman. And I don't know every single universe and every single character and every
Will
writer and
be really
artist. And,
uh,
I don't know.
it happened already to you that some of the more geek Batman fans ask you question like,
Oh, I've had
yeah,
that.
you
And
remember the issue 300 when the what?
I have to remind them, like, I didn't grow up reading comics. It's only recent that I started
Sure.
reading certain titles, and I don't read all of them.
Yeah, but that's
Again,
normal.
it's just not what I gravitated towards, and
Yes.
so it's
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm sure there's a lot of people that, as because of
oh, there
the
have, and
granddaughter of Bill Finger, the whole Bible, all the issues of Batman, all the. But no, of course not. It's like for me, what is really interesting about your story is how all the this is kind of better even than a comic book because it really happened. It's not
right,
fantasy; it's reality,
no.
and it's a beautiful story. It's like I say
Well,
in
we're
the
fortunate
documentary.
that it had a positive outcome at the end because it could have gone completely the other way. It really could.
Yes.
And I know that. And that was the risk that I took. But coming up, 75 years, I knew I only had 3 more years to get this resolved. Literally.
Mm,
You have
mm,
75 plus 3 years for copyright.
mm,
And I knew do or die. It has to be resolved so that
yeah,
it's not something that lingers continually for the rest of my life because it had already lingered most of my life at that point.
sure.
And so, the uncertainty is always scary. It's
Mm,
always stressful.
yes, for sure.
It's challenging because,
Yeah.
you have to, the what ifs, what happens if this happens, it's a chess game. All of that comes into play.
Mm,
And I just had to embrace it and just go with it. And
yeah.
I was fortunate that we had the resolution that everybody wanted. Because I
Yes.
mean, that's the other thing is that when I would talk to people over at DC, or if I would go over and have a tour with when they were in New York, they would do tours of the office, and I would go and see them. And it was always, oh, we know what your grandfather did, and we really wish things were different. You know how it is, and I'm like, yeah, I know how it is. With the corporation and all that stuff. It is what it is, and
Yes.
thank you for including me in the DC family, and thank you, and
Mm,
if you all want it, then make it happen. And that's what we did. Everybody was in agreement that it needed to happen. We just had to figure out a way to make it happen
mm,
so all parties were happy, basically.
yeah. No, that's
Because
great. And they and I saw that there was so many feedback from very famous artists. Like yes, like do you feel a sense of closure, resolution, something like that when that happened? Like there
Oh,
was
for
a
sure, for sure.
you like
It's
party
resolved.
1 week.
Oh no, it was, so please, we still celebrate. No, I mean when I got the news, yes, I don't have any family in Florida other than my son, who actually isn't here
Sure.
now anymore. But at the time, he was. So like, I was able to celebrate with him. I had some really good friends that I went and celebrated with. Not too long after the announcement that he got credit, there was a convention in Fort Lauderdale where some of my friends were going to be at. So we all went out and had this big, huge dinner. There was like 10 of us, of all these different people that were involved.
That's great.
So we really did celebrate. We really, it was something that should have happened from day one. So it was
Mm,
really a long time coming. And, having all of the people who were real huge supporters and campaigned either with me at conventions or online. I had a friend who was very active online, and she was, tweeting all the time and
yeah.
putting out messages to everyone and anyone that she could about getting Bill,
Mm,
his name attached. There were some amazing people who were behind me, and I tried to really celebrate and honor everybody that was involved, because it wasn't just me. I can't take sole credit for it. I really can't. I had
sure.
amazing people who helped in the
Yeah,
process.
no, for sure. But that's the I think is the beauty of this story. But of course, you were the center, but it was like a common effort. All the
Yes.
people trying to fight for a right cause. No, it's like a comic book and real life.
Yes. Right off
No,
the
that's
pages, right?
yeah. No, no, but for sure you can make a comic book of your story. That would be. Uh,
Maybe. Maybe.
let's copyright that right away.
Yes.
Let's copyright the idea. No, 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 that's amazing. So, well, we almost did 1 hour. I really thank you for taking the time because I know that, like you say, your life it's be a teacher. That is a really important job. But it's great to share this story with people that are not aware of that. Here in France, uh, I think there are people that know, but I don't know at what level. So maybe they will help to spread the word a little bit about that.
There are still a lot of people who are not aware of the Bill Finger story,
Mm,
but that number is shrinking every day. And for every
yes,
fan that shares the story or recommends the documentary or Mark's book
yes,
or watching various YouTube interviews I've done or other people have
yeah,
done or podcasts. I've done many, many podcasts. So there's a
yes,
lot of them out there. So share it, tell it. That's how we get the history to be solidified and corrected, is
yes.
if we share it. So
Yes, and I think what's the first credit on the on film that you
um,
pro
So for the small screen on TV, his first credit was Gotham. Was excuse me, Gotham, the TV show.
Gotham?
But actually, Robot Chicken was the actual first, because they
Really?
came.
Robot Chicken? No.
Yes,
What
gotta
episode?
I gotta love. Okay, so at the time, Gotham was on Monday nights, and
Okay.
Robot Chicken is always Sunday nights at midnight, and so that technically makes it a Monday, right?
Yeah.
So that was the night that he was doing his superhero DC superhero episode, and he had Bill's name in the credits for that one. So he beat Gotham, although Gotham was supposed to be the first one.
That's awesome.
And then for Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice was the first movie credit that he received.
All right. Uh, yeah, I think I can. Come on. Yeah,
Yes, Robot Chicken. Gotta love Seth. He's awesome. He's a huge
yeah.
fan.
No, I love Robot Chicken.
It's a great
No,
show. He's so smart. He really is. He's a smart
yes.
man.
No, so yeah, I want to invite everyone to watch this. Well, to know more about your grandfather, Bill Finger. About you
And
too.
you do not have to be a comic fan to enjoy the documentary. I have had people contact me who are like,
Yes.
I don't read comics. I don't like superhero movies. I don't like anything that deals with that. But I just happened to come across your documentary and oh my God, what a story. And I am crying and cheering all at the same time. And those are the ones that I love to hear from. If you don't have to be a
Yes.
fan to relate to this
No.
story of what
No,
happened.
because it's like I was saying before, is the story. Of course, is the story of Batman, but it's the story of your family too. So
Right.
it's and it's really and this kind of crusade of Mark, it's like I don't know, it's so beautiful, so I don't know, so human. It's like I say, like a real comic book, you know.
Yes. Real life
No,
drama.
yes, no, that's amazing, and I really thank you for your time, and well, I wish you the best, and
Thank you.
keep you the good work with your students, because for
As
me
long as
be a
they do the
teacher,
work.
yes, the be a teacher is really like kind of be a superhero because you have influence, in
It's
the
true. It's true.
in the
And I
minds
try
of the
to not just stick to math. I try to give them some life
yes,
encouragement also. So,
yeah, that's a good teacher, someone that is passionate about, and uh
oh, it doesn't help
yes,
that, I have this cool background because my students like that too. I get occasionally, I'll get the
for
message like,
sure.
I was looking at Google and did your grandfather? Yes.
Grandfather great Batman. Holy
Oh
shit.
my God, you're famous. Okay, if you want to call it that. Okay, yeah. Can we do
I
the
was
math
not gonna give
problem?
you a better grade, but thank you. No, I really thank you. Uh,
Well, thank you
Which
for
is the
having me
best.
on. This has been
Yeah,
great.
no, for sure. Yeah, maybe in the future when all this nightmare of the COVID stuff happen, maybe you will be able to travel because for sure there's a lot of people who will be interested in know more about your story.
Well, I have to come out to France because my sister lives in France now with
What?
her family. Yes,
Really?
yes.
Where?
They live right by Evian,
Avion.
Lake Evian.
You speak French?
No, I don't. I
Ah, okay.
learned French in high school, but I don't remember most of it. My sister is much better with languages than I am. So,
Okay.
no, she
Oh,
lives
that's
there with
great.
her family. Her husband is Swiss. And so they moved to France so that their girls could go to school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I have to
so,
come out there at some point. I mean,
yeah,
I
for
got to see
sure.
the
We
family.
had we had great wine, great cheeses, cakes,
All
great
the
food.
good stuff that I'm not supposed to be eating. Stop. You're making
Yes.
me hungry.
Sorry. We have the Eiffel Tower too.
Yes. I want to see the countryside. I want to see like the beauty. I don't, cities are cities. Yes, of course, I want
Yes.
to see Paris, but I want to see the country. Like
Yeah.
that, when my sister and I traveled in Italy, I really enjoyed seeing other than
Mm.
just the touristy areas.
That's the best because most of the people that travel to France, they say no, but I don't like it. I say, but what do you know about France? They say, yeah, I went to Paris, and that's
No,
all they know. And
No.
especially they go to all the kind of what we call tourist traps.
Oh, no. See, I try
Uh,
not to do that.
yes. So no, France is a big country.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like United States because every state in United States is kind of different.
Yes, and all the
France,
provinces are different in
yes.
France. You
When
have
you
the
go from
mountains, you have the beach, you have the
yes,
countryside, you have a
yeah,
little of everything. So,
yes,
and I want to see it.
yeah. No, no. There's a lot of cool stuff. I don't know if you know the story of King Arthur and
Mhm,
Merlin. You know
mhm.
that
Yes.
mythology. Well, I didn't. That I live. All what's happening in the region I live is called Brittany.
Oh, okay.
And actually, the magical forest of Brazilian is just like 1 hour from here.
Oh,
So
wow.
no, it's really cool, and there's
That's
cool.
awesome.
Well, it rains kind of often,
Okay.
but it's a cool
I
place.
live in
I really
Florida.
like.
South Florida is tropical. In the summer, it rains every
Yeah,
day. So, I mean, rain is
yeah,
not a big deal.
yes, a little refreshing. No, but here, even in the summer, that could be really warm. Sometimes it
Yeah.
rains, but just like I don't know,
Like
like
being in a
15 minutes.
shower. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 minutes. I feel okay. I can keep
Yes.
going through my day. Uh, no, but it will be great if you came sometime to visit your sister, or maybe for a convention because here in France there are a huge
If you know people,
comic book
start
comic book fans
approaching
too.
them because
Yeah,
that's the way that
hashtag Athena Finger France.
yes, start a movement.
Yes,
I don't know what conventions you have over in your area. So if you know which ones are out there, I believe you can go to their websites and
yes,
suggest people.
yeah. Suggest guest for sure. There's a big one like it's like Comic Con in Paris.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that will happen. But yeah, with the COVID and stuff, everything kind of stopped.
Yeah. To be honest,
So
I do better with the smaller ones. The smaller ones are more willing to
sure,
have me as as a
yeah.
guest
Oh,
versus
but
the
there's
bigger ones.
another. Yeah, there's another one like in Lyon or many other
Hey, where the
cities.
fans are, I will be.
Perfect. So, well, maybe to the people that don't know you, to know you a little bit better and invite you to stuff, will be we're
Yes, you
gonna
can go to my
leave your
website.
yes. It's like
Uh, I
very
have
simple. AthenaFinger.com.
yes, and I have samples of my own artwork there. I do paint.
Yes.
So all of the artwork that's there, I've done as commission work.
All right.
So if you and you can always find me on Facebook or on Instagram and contact me that way if you have questions about
Sure.
artwork or if you have questions about Bill or want to just say hi.
Awesome.
I don't shy away from the fans. I really don't. I try to
Oh, that's great.
respond to everybody because, again, without the fans, I wouldn't have a reason to come out and tell Bill's story. It wouldn't be
Yes.
relevant.
Yeah. Thank you. He's still alive. So
Yes.
I really thank you for your time and
Thank you.
well, see you maybe another time.
Yes, please. This was wonderful. I had a great time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.